All right, so this video is how to make a knife. It's going to be complete soup to nuts from, the general piece of bar stock all the way through. This is the knife that was made. I'll show you the clips along the way about how to make this exact knife. Also, some really cool videos of the knife in action. We had a fantastic mishap during the heat treat where my forge turned into a flamethrower. Somewhat exciting. So I'm gonna walk through all the processes, mostly just to show people that are interested in how to make a knife, the different steps. I'll post some pictures along the way of the creation of it, from drawing it up to, this is actually O1 tool steel. It's a solid piece of O1 tool steel, and cut it out, shaped it, formed it. I mean, with some basic equipment, just like a belt sander, bench grinder, and you'll see the forge along the way. Nothing fancy, and it came out great. It's awesome. It's got this African blackwood handle, which, if you take a look at that, it's even got some really great file markings for grip on the handle, because the blackwood is so hard it'll hold shape like that, almost like a piece of micarta, it seems like. And so left those in there. Show you how to do the pins through the handle. This thing's epoxied onto there, about 30,000 pounds per square inch of force to hold it on. And the O1 tool steel is heat treated to 59 Rockwell. I heated up to about 1550 degrees Fahrenheit, quenched it in some 10W30, actually heat treated it twice, and then tempered it at about 475 to get it to about 59 Rockwell. It's gonna hold an edge really well. It's great for bushcraft. I call this the drop point bushcraft hunter, and it is a hefty beast. And I'll show you some clips along the way. Here we go. Little batoning test. Let's see how this holds up. Yeah, that'll chop. Sure. All right, well, as you can see, what we've done here is putting a little extra love into this and using the ultra coarse sharpening hone just to take a little bit more off and make sure that we're exactly at about 15 degrees on the bevel. What I did is I hand ground it with a nice convex edge, so it's gonna be a great chopper, almost like an axe here, and flat ground it, but with put a little convex, little roll to it on the belt sander. But what I want to do because of that is make sure that the final edge that's going to go on it is right at about 15 degrees, and that's where we're at now. I'm not sure if you can see that, but I don't want to be at 11 degrees. That's probably a little bit too sharp. It's gonna chip. It's gonna roll, and it's more like a razor blade angle, and you'd have to sharpen it all the time. So I'm going right at 15. Great angle for something that's going to be a bushcraft, hunter, skinner type knife, and then also chopping with the mix between the convex flat grind and that nice Scandi grind at the end, which is essentially a Scandi grind, just means really super flat, which means that it'll actually be easy to sharpen too, because all you really need to do if you have any sharpening stones is just, you know, run it across like this. You know, you would actually run it. Hold on one second, I'll show you. It actually run it kind of like, you know, forward on any stone and super flat. And it's really easy to sharpen with a Scandi grind because that final bevel edge there is perfectly flat. So hopefully that'll work out. And I wanted to do that now before we get to the point where we do the heat treat, which is set up today. Yay, heat treat day! There's my forge, and we'll get that heat treated and we'll get it so that it is quenched and all the rest of that. After I quench it and then temper it later today, it's gonna be hard to do stock removal even on the edge and get it down to the right shape. So just put a final shape on it before we do the heat treat. Hopefully it'll come out great. All right, heat treat day. Go ahead and get a video of this. So here's the forge. We're gonna fire this thing up. This is a solid piece of O1 tool steel. O1 stands for, the O stands for oil. So we're gonna oil quench in this right here. Once we get it up to about 1550 degrees. All right, get the camera up here. So I'm gonna get it up to 1550 degrees, glowing orangish cherry red, which would be plenty. Then we are going to quench it, and it should be so hard that a file just skips right off it. Won't even touch it at all. Just scrape right off of it. We'll have to temper it later for toughness, but here we go. Let's get this sucker fired up.
Do not start a fire.
Well, we're gonna start a fire.
No. Problem with that. That's not how it's supposed to burn. You're totally gonna start a fire,
That was
Dad.
awesome and super cool for the video.
No.
That is not how this torch is supposed to burn.
No, it wasn't.
Dang, that was exciting. All right. That was funny. degrees Fahrenheit at least. It's super bright orange in there. I'm gonna take this thing out and quench it. Here's the moment of truth. Let's see how this goes. I've got to be quick, so we'll see how it goes. Here we go. Please don't break, Mr. Metal. Oh, oh yeah, baby. Woo! Yeah! Wow, that heated up the oil so much it started almost coming out the top because it expanded due to the thermal expansion. Look at that, look at that. Woo! I have to remove all that before we temper it, or Mom's gonna kill me if that goes in the oven. That will make a nasty smell in the house. So we will first remove this scale here. All the this is high carbon steel, so we'll remove all the scale from that first, and then we will temper that in the oven. All right, hey, we need to see if this actually is hard enough and that the molecular changes that have occurred. This file should skip off it. I would say that sounds like that worked. All right. I don't know, did it? Let me try it on the handle. Oh man, we might need to do this again. Yeah, it's yeah, I can see through it. Bricks, what you doing?
I'm sandpaper this spoon.
Good job. Say hi.
And then lay it down now.
We're gonna mix up some epoxy resin. I got the resin and the hardener. This is JB Weld, 39,000 pounds per square inch. This stuff's not coming off. And we're gonna pin, this stuff's not gonna come off. And then we're gonna pin these things for the hilt in there too. So the only way that epoxy could ever really break, I would think, would be shear force. See ya. And we're not going to it's not gonna be able to slide with the pins in there, and nothing's gonna pull it for, 19 tons of force the opposite direction to pull it off. So this will be permanent. So I have to get this right the first time. I got to get these pins through. I hand sanded these pins just to make sure they were exactly the right radius, right diameter to slide through these and the holes here, and they should fit about as snug as can be. As a matter of fact, I might have to hammer them in. And I need to mix this for 60 seconds, and we're on. All right, game on. This has to get done now. So hold on, no questions yet. Okay, sweetie? Whoa.
I just wonder if you're actually on a video doing this stuff.
Let me see if it's on video. Yeah,
No,
on video.
Is this going on YouTube?
Well, I'm making a video of this whole thing. I'm putting together a whole bunch of different clips of making this knife as an instructional about how to make a badass drop point hunter, which is the kind of knife this is. All right, so we have a massive amount of epoxy resin. I have scratched up, if you'll notice, I've scratched up the brass with a file and left the file marks in to give the epoxy resin something to grasp to. And used high grit sandpaper low grit sandpaper, like 120 or so on that to make sure it was roughed up so that works. All right, pins in.
Pins in.
Pins in. Front pin. Back pin. I'm gonna just hammer them right on the table. I wanna make sure I get through. Don't care if I ruin the table. I'd clean this all off with, that was not a good idea because now they're gonna stick in the table.
Whoa!
Should peel off the table. Come on. Yeah, they're through. Okay, good. So these will file off. You'll never even see them when I'm done with this. Once they get filed down, it'll be brass on brass, and you'll never even see where those pins were, but they will hold the brass together, and it will look like a solid piece, and with this epoxy resin, it will function like one solid piece for this hilt. Booyah, baby! Gonna let that cure for 5 minutes, set for 5 minutes, cure for an hour, and then I'm gonna do the pommels here the same exact way, pommels, and then we're gonna do, I scratched up the awesome African blackwood scales to put the handles on. Then when we're all done with that, we'll file it all down to make it nice and cool and shaped and ergonomic to fit the hand. Cool? See ya.